Hi. So in this session, we're going to show a quick demo of using um, the AWS Cloudscape design system along with the Solvent Botworx platform to create an application, basically a web application, and show it in low-code format. So here's our requirement. This is our Botworx automation requirement that specifies what the application needs to do and provide some helpers for certain things like embedding a YouTube video, providing data for the YouTube video data, which we've already extracted here as JSON files, and we included in our instructions here. And then additionally, we have some layout information such as a toolbar and a sidebar for the application. I would, so we're gonna, to run this requirement, we're gonna right click on it and go to our Botworx automation menu, which has a bunch of different automations that we've developed. You can develop your own as well as a developer. We'll choose the AWS Cloudscape automation. And actually, before doing that, let me just open up the session that we're going to be using. So we have a bunch of sessions here. I would really like to use AWS Bedrock for this demo, which behind the scenes points to an Anthropic model, but the Anthropic model really struggles with tool calling and understanding what tool to use. So for now, just to make this demo go through, we'll choose OpenAI as our bot provider in a session, and we'll go back and open up the automation. All right, so we have the application name. It chose just the file name of the requirement file. We'll keep it as it. For our session, as I said, as much as I would like to use AWS, which would be pointing to Anthropic because of those issues, we'll avoid that for now. You have the requirements that are in that file included here. You could add some last minute edits to it, and a bunch of other features in here which we'll touch on in future videos. For now, we just want to run this automation. Okay, so the app has been generated. We're running some verification checks to make sure that the structure that the app is in is appropriate for importing into our low-code system. Okay, we generate a checklist based on these requirements. The checklist is helpful for basically, subsequent work on the app, because you're never going to get the app that you actually want in the initial run. So the checklist is really nice for the iterative process. So you can take a look and say, hey, you didn't do this or you didn't do that based on the requirement. I just check in the boxes and send additional requests in, so you don't have to keep retyping things all over the place. So now it's going to import the generated app into Lowcode, and hopefully if all this goes smoothly, it'll open up the application for us. Okay, so the app is now in the Lowcode editor. It has to build it because it's basically the Lowcode editor relies on our object modeling technology, which means all those objects that represent various aspects of the application has to get built, so you actually have a final application. All right, so here's our application. You have the video in there. It created the toolbar that we asked for. It added the menus that we asked for. It added the sidebar along with the screens, and it added, the menus of the sidebar. So if I click on this, ideally it should show different screens here. We'll get to that for now. This is very nice, and I mentioned some of the things that that were shown when when the app was being generated. Checklist is one of them. If I click on this, we have a bunch of checklists here. This is AI generated checklisting. It basically is a way to have automatic context generated for you, so you can reuse it if there are issues with the application. If it's missing something, instead of going in again and say you didn't do X, Y, and Z, you can basically use this checklist. A checklist is formatted in a way that it's basically an instruction for the AI. So let's say it had not generated the toolbar for us. Here's the checklist instruction. It says the application is missing the toolbar, which wasn't the requirement. And if you check this, what this does is when I check that and I choose this automation that we just ran, we can rerun the same automation, except this time around it captures that checklist item and it puts it in here for us as additional instructions that you don't have to type along with the rest of the stuff. It's a really nice way to deal with the monotony of having to retype instructions. We do this all over the application. There are, like, the original automation for this tells it to generate descriptions, which can also be helpful for generating additional context on the UI elements themselves. So let's open this application in a full screen view and see what it looks like. So this is still going to be in the composer mode, but in full screen outside of the main ID, the embedded ID environment. Basically, it's rebuilding the application again, except it will show this in a standalone view. All right, so let me see if, okay, Okay, so basically it doesn't look like it implemented this screen switching. Let me see if there's anything in the checklist that we could reuse, right? We have create a view for each video. That's in there. So it doesn't have a checklist item. The application is missing. Sidebar, that's not it. Set the sidebar, it's not it. It doesn't have any checklist item for switching screens. Of course, we're working with AI, so I bet if I run this again, we'll get a different checklist, which might capture some of that. Not perfect, but it gives us a good starting place. I don't want to, spend an hour on this video, but you get, the various capabilities that we've built in here to help with this. Going back to my earlier point and issues with using Anthropic, I'll show an old session that we ran where if you look at the OpenAI output, showing everything that it does, after we give it the instruction, it's supposed to call our build Lowcode tool. That one. So those are all that text comes, it's basically our prompt that goes to the AI, and that's part of the automation that we built for this particular design system application. What I'm looking for is the call that actually invoked the Lowcode importation. Should be in here. Okay, so here's a tool that we're using. Basically, there's a whole section and maybe additional videos on building tools. There's a really powerful way to build tools in the environment that can be used by your automations. And in this one, the instruction that triggers the use of this tool is a stack that says build the Lowcode app, then open it in the Lowcode editor. OpenAI knows how to do this, right? Based on the description in this tool, it knows this is a tool to use. In Anthropic, it's just so unreliable that when we run the same thing, and this is an ongoing issue, it's not a one-time thing. Same instruction in here, it's not able to do it, right? Instead, it saved the file, the output in a file, and then that's not available to our tool because our tool is not set up to read from a file, random file. I mean, we can always expand on the tool so that it supports this type of thing, but it's still disappointing that it simply does not know how to use tools. And then it will struggle with, well, it's all in the same thing. We ask it to implement our app module. The app module is basically the JavaScript that powers this application. Here's the module. There's nothing in here, but the idea is that the low-code part of the application would be more user interaction focused, meaning around UI interactions, and then that would use the module to provide or drive logic. from this, there's additional automations that we can use in here to generate code. We're not going to get into that now, but yeah, the Anthropic model is just disappointing for now. Hopefully they improve on that. Here's what it's doing. It keeps calling this implement module without code and repeating it. And this can eat up your credits quite quickly when it goes into this almost schizophrenic loop. This has been an ongoing issue. We've been working with the model for a while now, and it's just, it's annoying. Just state it plainly. Here's where it finally did what we asked it to do, but it'll eventually fail on other things. Anyway, I don't want to rant on Anthropic, but hopefully they keep improving, because I hear folks talk a lot about Anthropic and how great it is. Not when it comes to some of the things that we've been trying to do. But this is another demo, and we have plenty more coming. Thank you very much.